My name is Tanaisha. I'm an expert by experience volunteer at Empowered.
I'm Molly. I'm also an expert by experience volunteer at Empowered.
I'm Emily, and I'm also an expert by experience volunteer with Empowered, and we're going to be speaking about prevention to readmission, and if you are readmitted to an inpatient setting, then how can it be made to be the most useful and how to get the most out of being an inpatient.
Yeah, we've all had multiple admissions with various time spans between them. I mean, mine were 9 years apart, so I'm not even really sure whether you call it a readmission, but I was never well in between. I feel like I was hovering just outside. So there is danger in not admitting as well as in taking you out of the community. Admission can be needed. I was thinking I spent 9 years hovering, not really living, but also keeping just well enough to not be back in hospital. And I know I have friends who have died following such a just hovering. They weren't readmitted, and that can be really dangerous as well. So yeah, it's just knowing that sometimes it is needed.
Yeah, sometimes it is necessary, and then it's what you do with what you've learned,
the opportunity,
and it gives you that very good starting point to then progress. But then a lot of it is done in the community with the choices they make every single day.
Yeah,
and
you've got to be in the right headspace to make the most of whatever your opportunity is.
Mm-hmm. And I think through readmissions you also understand yourself a bit more, and you get to know what helps you and what doesn't help you, what your triggers are, and different therapies that you might want to try. And I think that's really key, because when you first get ill, you don't really know kind of what triggers it, why it's like this. I think understanding yourself is a really key important thing. And when I had my last admission, I had my autism diagnosis, which I didn't have in the previous admissions, and they really tailored my recovery towards that, which I found really beneficial. So if you get like different diagnoses in throughout the admissions, then that can help, make it more pro recovery.
That made a huge difference to me as well. I'm not diagnosed with autism, but I'm on the waiting list, and just things like you can't concentrate on getting better when you're too stressed out by the environment around you. So being in a room that was slightly quieter and less busy with people passing by, I had a fixed ward round time so that everything was kept a bit more predictable, and it made such a huge difference. I had the energy to actually put into recovery instead of just stressing.
Your community team needs to be really involved in your inpatient care from the start, so they know exactly where you are, what you're doing. So there's that collaborative approach, because being just discharged and into the community without them knowing what you've done in hospital, all the work you've done, the therapies, without that, then they don't know where you're at the stage, and they're trying to relearn what you're like. Being honest with your community team when you are struggling, because if you say everything's fine and turn a blind eye to it when you're struggling, they're not going to be able to help you. And being open and honest is the best thing you can do, and reaching out for support, because I remember I would kind of hide how I was feeling and that I was really struggling, and then it just got to a stage where it was so bad I had to end up in hospital. Whereas if I was more aware of it earlier, and people were more aware of it earlier, I could have got help before that. Trying different preventative things in the community, and talking to my family, talking to my friends, talking to anyone that would help.
I think just trying to be open and honest with everyone. If you have a team that you're working with, then it is okay to struggle. It's completely normal to struggle, but it's how you sort of respond to those struggles that's going to make the difference in the long run, and that's where you build your resilience up. So say you're having a really bad day in terms of food or your mental health, it's not letting that then develop into a whole week of really struggling, and it's having that sort of buffer of that will give you that stability, and that is something that just comes with practice and time. And I think it's kind of the acceptance that yes, it will be very hard, but it will be so worth it at the end. And having that kind of like blind faith, really, that it will be better, because that's what you just have to keep like thinking about and wishing for, because all our hard work is worth it at the end. Definitely is possible. I think, I don't know, I feel like it's an ongoing journey, but then the further into that journey you get, the further away from the eating disorder you are, so the more resilient you get, and all the hard work is worth what you get on the other side. The freedom, like there's a million and one things you could list, and it's probably so different for everyone, but it's like, I always see recovery as walking up a down moving escalator. You have to keep going up, keep taking those steps up, otherwise it's just going to pull you back down. But then when you get to the top, it's so worth it, which is so cringy, but
there'll be days where you want to give up and like you don't feel like it, but then you realise all the things that recovery's given you, all the freedom, like from being able to make your own drink, to be able to go outside when you want to, all them things you took for granted. You think, well no, this made it possible because I was in recovery. And you know, it is possible. And I didn't think I would. I didn't think I'd be in this position where I was. I thought, you know, this is going to be my life forever. And then you realise that once you get a little bit of freedom, once you get a little bit better, once you start recovering a little bit, it adds on again and again and again until you build like a staircase.
When you're an inpatient, it tends to squash the eating disorder and put it in a corner. But it's just, I think I heard someone describe it as it's doing press-ups in the corner, ready to pounce at the second that you let your guard down. And it can help you develop the resilience and fill that space that was left by the eating disorder. So yeah, I did clothes shopping with the OTs, and Mum, before I came home, went through and binned everything out my wardrobe. So I came back and I was like this different person, and I cut my hair short, and we've all said, haven't we, that it's like you need to reinvent yourself almost.
It's moving away from the eating disorder and having the skills to do that, and to like have the confidence to do that without sort of, because I think sometimes the eating disorder can feel a bit like a crutch to lean on when things are really stressful. So then when that's taken away, you need something in its place to like be able to cope with things.
Yeah, and I think that's why the parallel model is going to be so useful, because in the community before that, there's no occupational therapist that can take you out and, you know, do meal cookery or take you out for lunch or take you shopping. And I think that's really key, because if you can't practice that in the community, it's okay doing it in hospital when you're in an environment that's safe and secure. When you're in the community, you're kind of all by yourself, and you need someone to help support you through that. I think that's why the parallel model is like, it's intensive and it's got that all that support that you need, which will be a good transition from being in hospital to being at home, because it's such a big gap.
Steps down more gradually.
Yeah.
It's the transition points when you're always most vulnerable. I think that's just a very human thing, isn't it? Change is always difficult.
Yeah, always.
I always think, I've said to everyone, I want to give living a go this time. You can spend too long just waiting for it to happen, and actually it is a bit of a gamble giving living a go, but so is having an eating disorder. If I really hated it, then there's other options, but it's
living, not just surviving.
Yeah, exactly.